find it.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. We are live on YouTube. So, do we wish to start with the Industrial Development Agency first?
Sure.
Is that what we normally do? Is that okay?
Good morning, Judy.
Yes. Good morning.
You're down there at the end of the table.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Right.
All right, so we have a quorum, yes.
Yes.
We're meeting in this-
John, walking right in.
Yes.
Do we have an agenda for John? Any extra agenda?
Yes, I had no agenda, I had a couple documents.
Couple documents anyway.
He does his.
We wouldn't want
We
you to
does
go
our
out
phone. We all do our
share
phone.
paperwork.
We're a paper community. Right.
We all, those are
You're very special.
Great.
Which we knew.
All righty. So good morning, everybody, and I'm gonna call the meeting to order for the Glens Industrial Development Agency. It is October 13th. We have a quorum. All members are present. In addition, our staff and advisors are here and we're ready to go. I will hold off on any kind of chair report until we get to projects. And I'll first go to the minutes from the September 8th meeting from September 8th, 2022. All the members have received them and they're posted on our website. Are there any comments, questions, changes to the minutes? There being none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll make it
Second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are passed. Mark Toomey is not here yet, and so I'm gonna hold off for a minute on the financial report. We have the report for the months ended September 30th, 2022 to review. We also have our draft budget, and so each year, we put together a 5-year plan, and so we've added a year for the 2027 budget to consider, and everyone should have that. We also have the plan for the Civic Development Corporation, which, as you know, has not had any business, and we can take that up as well. And then, and so I'm gonna hold off on those until Mark gets here, and if he's not able to arrive for some reason, then I'll go through those with you. The other item is, we've noted in the past that the accounting firm that we had used for some time to do our annual audit is no longer doing government audits. And so we are working with the city of Glens Falls, and they have put out a request for proposals for auditors to do both the city audit and to do the public authority audits. And there has been one response. No one, yeah.
No one's in the business.
Yep.
So a group out of Rochester that has an office in Albany, the Bonadio Group, Bonadio, has responded, and I believe we're probably going to accept them.
Look at
Look at all the choices.
Choices.
Who's the county using?
I
I
don't
believe
know.
they're using the same company.
Because they went through this last year, so I wonder, just see if they have other.
We got their name from, I think it was the county. I'm pretty sure it was the
The
county.
one cat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We sent it to a wide range of people because we knew it was difficult, but I don't remember where we got their name
It's
from.
interesting that nobody wants to do them anymore.
They're a relatively large firm. They're originated from the Rochester area. They bought out a firm in the Albany area. They also have an office in Syracuse and in Clinton. I used people from the Syracuse office before to handle an estate matter for me, and it wasn't an audit, but I was very pleased with their work and their services, so
Great.
that was my own personal experience.
No,
but,
that's better than a lot of things, if we know someone who's actually worked with the firm, so, great.
Yeah, And so if anyone wants to check them out, again, their main office is in Rochester, and that's where they were started, and they do have a website, and they do a lot of educational type emails that they send out to their customers that I still get, and pretty decent, so if you wanna check them out, and we'll have more information on that once we have the final price. And so I don't think that we need to take a vote on that today, is that correct? We can wait, okay.
Yeah, we don't have a real proposal yet. We've got a positive indication that they're interested.
Yeah,
in
we were
moving
emailed
forward.
just yesterday, and they said they would, they hadn't forgotten us, and we're gonna get us a quote.
What company did they take
Okay.
from, do you know?
I don't, but,
Just wondered.
yeah, I don't remember the company in Albany that they took out, that's how they got into the Albany area was, yeah, taking over a company there. Okay, so, hopefully Mark will get here and we'll do the minutes. I know he's coming up from Saratoga, so. The project reports and resolutions. So today, we have two of our successful projects that we had lease agreements and pilots with have reached the end of their term, and so they're expiring. So Smith Flats LLC, which is a property that's on Bay Street, and you all know, and we worked on that for some time. I think our term with them was about 5 years, and so we're at the end of that. And then the Park Theater LLC, which is on Park Street, and that was the Elizabeth, so Peter Hoffman with Smith Flats, and Park Theater LLC is Elizabeth Miller's organization. And so we have resolutions approving the termination, and I'll read those resolutions separately. The first, and before I do that, before I put the resolutions up, are there any questions that anyone has about those two?
No, it's great properties.
Oh.
They're in great shape.
Great
It's
shape.
exactly what you want us to be working on, right?
Yep, and, yep, and both operating, I think, rather well for the city. So the first is a resolution approving of the termination of the lease agreements and payment in lieu of tax agreements by and between the agency and Smith Flats LLC and Karen Coakley, and authorizing the execution and delivery of the same. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none? Did I have a second?
You didn't have a
Sorry.
motion yet.
Yeah, I'm sorry, let me go back over that. Is there a motion to accept my resolution?
I'll make it.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, that resolution is passed. Thank you. So the second one is Park Theater LLC. And this is a resolution approving of the termination of the lease agreements and payment in lieu of tax agreement by and between the agency and the Park Theater LLC, and authorizing the execution and delivery of the same. Is there a motion to accept my resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the motion is passed. And I think we'll send out some type of note to the.
I have the termination documents to sign. We have to put the terminations of the lease on record, so it clears that up for any future things that they do with their property. So I'll have those for you to sign, and then I can get everybody to sign off on that, and then we'll file it all with the assessor's office.
Okay.
We're required to file it all with the assessor's office by law, so we'll send it all to them.
Okay, so, we'll move their projects from our active list to our non-active list, and we'll keep those resolutions on.
Yep.
And you'll take care of getting them to their attorneys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody knows that it's coming, so they're all in the know.
They're already in the know, very good. All righty. So then, I just want to update you on the 88 Ridge Royal, Queensbury Hotel project. While their work there is not complete, and our lease agreement and pilot still exists, we do not need to do any kind of extension. The work that we had agreed to is now complete, and all of the supplies have arrived. They're continuing to do some additional work, on their entranceway to the parking lot. But that was not part of our original plan. And so if you see construction going on there, it's not ours. And so, that project is up to date and we are, operating very well. The same with 1525 Park Street, EASM Holdings or Elizabeth Miller, her project on Park Street across the street from the Park Theater. While they are not complete yet, our work with them, the materials have arrived and our agreement, will come to a conclusion at the end of this month. And we do not need to have.
For sales tax. our
For
agreement.
sales tax, yes. And so purposes of, we were, continuing to, stay in touch with them to see if any materials or any need for sales tax extension was needed. And again, it's not. So, again, work is ongoing, but that's, completion of, through labor and the materials, I think, are all on site. So, hopefully in the next,
Sales tax
Just expires.
just
Yeah,
expires.
it just expires.
Yeah, so we don't have to vote on that or anything, but, hopefully we'll see that open within the next 30 days. I know it's, they're making a great deal of progress, so.
Yeah.
So no resolution for that as well. For Market Square, for Spring City Development Group, there is a project update and we do have a resolution. Basically, we are, taking final action now that, follows up with what the planning board did at the last planning board meeting. Jeff, do you wanna talk about that?
Yeah, just to let you know that they did, submit their, receive site plan review approval, in the planning board meeting on the first Tuesday of this month. The same time that the city sort of submitted its own, sketch plan application. So we're actually, moving forward with that. Seeker was completed, and approved. I think there's probably the need for the resolution. I don't know if the resolution for the purchase, does that have to, can this be done first?
Yep,
Okay,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
Then I think once the sale is completed of the properties, then we can move forward with the pilot for this project. So as doors close on these other projects, we have another one that's gonna be opening for next year. And they're looking to begin construction on phase one, right, as of the end of the year, by the end of the year. Assuming they can get a building permit, and they have to do architectural review, which should be relatively simple.
And so all the members have received the resolution, we have it posted on our website, and this again relates to, a project, it's basically, the action or final action that we're taking now regarding the state environmental quality review, findings and those findings that were made by, the planning board, at their last meeting. So the resolution taking final action toward undertaking a certain project as defined within the resolution for Spring City Development Group LLC, the company, as agent of the agency for the purpose of constructing and equipping the project facility as defined herein, and authorizing the execution and delivery of an agreement and closing documents by and between the agency and our company. And it relates to what they refer to as phase one of their project, and it is, the two properties on Elm Street and the one on South Street. So it's the existing buildings, this is not the new construction that they're calling phase two.
Right, and the main purpose of this resolution is, from a procedural standpoint, is that the last approval that you made that indicated the terms of the pilot and things of that nature, they hadn't obtained their environmental approvals yet from the city planning board. The city planning board issued a negative determination indicating that they don't foresee any negative impacts of the project. So you are required to either disagree with that or accept their findings and find that there's no environmental, and accept their findings that there's no negative environmental impacts on the project. And that's a requirement of state law to proceed forward with the project.
And I just happened to be at that planning board meeting for another purpose when they took that action, and the city planning board had sent out numerous documents to many other agencies, state and county and local governments asking for input and did not get any negative input.
Right.
So
And I think that's part of the reason for the meeting dates, if you know, if you had been following along, were pushed back a couple of weeks because they had to wait that 30 days for the comment period to
Comment
expire.
period, yep. So, yeah, and there were no comments and no one from the public came forward. All right, so, I read my resolution, is there a motion to accept it?
I so move.
Is there a
Second.
second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? Being none, the resolution is passed. Thank you. And I don't have any other project reports, but I do wanna go back to our, financial report, and Mark, has arrived. Mark, thank you for being here, and, we started to talk about, the finances. We talked about the audit, so we don't need to go back over that, but we do wanna just, talk about the, report that you submitted to the members for the months ending September 30th, 2022. And then we'll also just, talk again about, the, budget that we did for, adding the 2027. Thank you, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, in September, this was, Elizabeth Miller's, check coming in for $12,644, and three Fitzgerald invoices, a total of $1,027. That's it.
Good.
Yeah.
And we have, related to that monthly report, we have one bill to pay, and so let me jump to Schedule A. Fitzgerald Morris Baker First, $208 is our only bill, for this month. Is there a motion to accept the, Schedule A?
I'll make it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, motion is carried. Any questions for Mark on the budget? Our net assets are $153,111. Nothing outstanding at the moment. Okay. Is there a motion to accept the financial report presented by Mark Taylor?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the financial report is accepted as presented. And so then, Mark, you've added, under the state government ABO guidelines, which we follow, we put together proposed budgets for 5 years out. And so we want to update that budget and get that up online. And so Mark has put together and worked with Jeff on this as well, and myself. We've put together a budget for 2027, which you have in front of you, which does not really vary that much from prior year. The only comment that I have about this is that we're doing this in October when our year end for 2022 is not until December. And so to follow ABO guidelines, I think we should put this up, but maybe what we might want to do is if there are any changes as of year end, when we get our financial report in January, we can always go back and modify this if you feel it's important. And so it's obviously only taking into consideration the 10 months of activity in 2022 that we know of.
And so we can post this as a draft to maintain good compliance with ABO guidelines?
I think so.
Right, proposed budget,
Yeah, proposed budget, yeah.
Kind of
So-
hard to budget for 2027. You have to go on what's passed, and that, it doesn't tell you what,
Right.
fair enough.
Fair enough. So if, and so I'd like to, we'll keep it as draft, but, if you're good with this and you don't have any questions, we can certainly take questions, but, and Mark, if you want to add anything, please do, or Jeff. But, what we can do is approve these now and get them posted and then, come back in January.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, when we're looking at this, we tried to sort of simplify this. There's a few lines that were there that were sort of zeroed forever, it sounds like, from Mark. I think maybe what happened in some cases, things like events and advertising, Those might have been moved over to a budget line when Ed moved to the county, because it was probably gonna, most of these kinds of things would have been done within the economic development budget itself. You know, I don't think events would be done by the IDA itself. So, we sort of consolidated some of these, maybe they could even be removed. I mean, I took the advertising events, I think there were separate numbers there, but they had been zero. The other thing was, if you look at 23, which I tried to, at least if we have any visibility, I was looking at the, when you look at the fee income, I'm basing that largely on a conservative estimate of what the pilot would be for Bonaccio's phase 1 project. The other ones are almost all just taking the existing budgets, stretching it out a year, and then adding, the one thing I did was add, little, in some cases, little inflation escalators, which probably nobody cared about for the last 20 years.
But we have to now.
Yeah, they're not ignorable anymore.
And we don't have, other than the phase 1 Bonaccio project, we don't have an applicant right now.
No, although we've got several people who have indicated some interest in different projects, yeah, at least 3 I can think of.
Yeah,
And
it's
great.
I reported in the public meetings, right? The success of the DRI has already in some ways began, because with the knowledge that we're developing these buildings in this side of South, there's already people saying, what about the properties across the street? Now, none of them have materialized yet, right? But we had interest in the old Irish pizza place and that building, right? You had, we've had people talk about Beamer's Pub, which I don't even think is for sale, but said, hey, what about that? We'd like to buy that, right? We have movement in progress by Chris Patton on his very large property across the way. He's trying to raise the money to do it right. He's got some structural issues that have stopped him.
Over near
Did you say Chris Patton?
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
okay.
Chad Nims.
Yes, I was gonna say,
I
yeah.
apologize, but yes, Chad owns it, and he's working on. My point is, there's activity there. His plan is to develop it, and it's action going on. So already those buildings have already gained more interest than I had ever heard of before, right? I mean, for 20 years, right? Dango and had held on to that. Now he's got it for sale, and he just missed selling it. He wouldn't come down a little from his price, but that's a developer who wanted to turn that into a restaurant. And again, there's a lot of people saying, hey, where are we with this? And then also down where the corner of Cooper and Maple, that whole block that is the other corner of the block from the t-shirt factory. Those properties are all moving. We had several people wanting to buy the entire length from on Maple, down Maple, from Cooper all the way to the Glens Falls produce place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that plan fell through, but there are purchases of those buildings separately, and so it's great, right? There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of people. People are now recognizing that we're moving forward and want to be part of it.
Okay.
Yep. Even in the interest, right? So I know that 178 Maple is closing soon, or scheduled to close this month. The other properties on that, I think, are scheduled to close in the next couple of weeks. Again, I think there will be movement on the Chad Nims property. He's applied for a building permit, but he has to address some structural issues to get sign off. But it's activity, right? Where those buildings have set on, so it's great to see.
So I'm going to ask you to put forward the proposed budget with the adjustments and to get those posted. Kara, is it okay if I do Glens Falls Civic Development with the same board? Should I open that meeting?
I mean, technically it's not been noticed, so
Okay.
I would just adopt it at the next meeting.
We'll do it at the next meeting. Very good. So before us is the proposed budget for the Glens Falls Industrial Development Agency. for years ending 2022, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. Is there a motion to accept as presented?
I'll make it.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, we will post that and we'll revisit as necessary in January. Any other business?
So what do you want to do with the CDC one? What do we
We'll
do?
have to put that.
We'll have to do a meeting.
Good way.
But we can post that as a.
Draft.
As a draft.
You can post it as a draft.
Yes,
We need to post it as a draft.
Yeah, right.
Not can,
Yeah.
right?
yeah. Okay. So any other business that anyone else has to come before the board? Joe, anything? Any members?
Nope.
All
No?
right, so our next meeting will be Thursday, November 10th at 8 a.m. here at this same location. Thank you, Kara.
Yes, thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
We are adjourned, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
yours, Joe.
Thank you.
That was great.
Easy's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, an activity, right, to close out some projects and open up a
You
new
know,
one.
that
right?
was nice,
Yeah.
really nice to
Yeah.
see some closing.
Yeah, it was
And
great.
everybody's happy.
Yep.
Well, most
The
everybody's
buildings
happy.
are occupied and working, right? Yeah. So let's call to order the Greater Glens Falls Local Development Corporation. It's still October 13th, and we have a quorum, and we have advisors, guests, and consultants. So let's go with the chair report. We'll begin with my chair report. We have about 3 different projects that we'll be discussing, aside from the Market Center and the Bonaccio projects today. Reimbursements for Elizabeth Miller and Ben's Market Park and Elm. And that first project that's qualified to receive the New York State CARES Act funding and a new mural. So Pat will bring to your attention as we get into the reports a series of murals in the city that we've been discussing for a little bit, and we have your approval for the seed money for the. We've done the first 2, and we have a third one for you to approve and to move forward with the seed money if you so choose. And then let's see. And you'll just reminder, the reason that the third one is separate is because the location that we had selected, we learned was in the Arts District, but outside of the DRI, the boundary of the DRI. So they would not, Empire State Development would not approve that. So we found a third location on the building of the theater, and so we'll have that for your review today.
Just so I understand, so Pat, this is actually, as far as the LDC is concerned, mural number 3, right?
It's
Mural number 4,
actually
we're trying to get the other one
it's
funded.
actually mural number 4 because 3 was actually proposed. So it is the 3rd mural, but it is the 4th project.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Great.
We want to be technically correct.
right.
Just want to know where to go find it.
Court.
Also just wanted to mention that the State Parks and Recreation Historic Preservation Department did indeed improve the incubator building at 36 Elm Street, meaning that building now joins the 3 Squares Historic District and is now eligible for some state tax credits. And then we've already mentioned in the last meeting that we do have, that the city reached out and accountants, and we have a potential person willing to put in a bid. And that is your extensive chair report. So let's see. So we've, let's see, the next would be administrative reports, I believe. So we had no committee meetings, so let's move on and approve the minutes of the September 8th, 2022. Does anybody have any corrections or changes to the minutes? Not hearing any, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions?
I have to abstain, I wasn't here.
And any Any objections? Great, so financial report for September 2022, it's in your packet. Anybody have any questions for Mark regarding it? We have a motion to accept Mark's report.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or objections? And payment of bills, Schedule A, again, nothing unusual this month. And if anybody has any questions about those payments? Not hearing any, do we have a motion to accept the payment of the bills?
Yes, I mean,
So,
one of them.
Mary and Lois, one way or the other.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or objections? Great. 5, so we don't have any other reports for you, so project reports, the DRI, updates from Jeff. Let's start there.
The, budget.
Oh, right, sorry, yeah, the new item, so you do have the
Part of the financial
the
report.
budget in front of you, the additional of the 5th year?
And like Jeff said, we went through and tweaked those budget lines for items that no longer had anything, had any use.
Right. No real changes?
No,
I'll make a motion to approve it as presented.
Well, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any abstentions or objections? Then we should move on to project reports. DRI, Jeff, please.
Yeah, just as I mentioned, the Market Square project should be moving forward. I assume that's then contingent on, do we need a resolution for the confirmation of the sale of the properties?
So the resolution that, or the item you need to consider today is that they, Spring City Development made a request to amend the contract to extend the contingency dates through the end of the year. And so there's really they didn't, when I talked to their attorney, she just wanted to extend some things out because they're still waiting on some of the items, the architectural review, et cetera. So as we come on to holiday season, she thought it would be best just to push that out. Obviously, if they're prepared to close, we'll just move that up, but they wanted to have that on, knowing we only meet monthly. So that was the request. And then this resolution would authorize that modification of the contract. The contract's already been signed and executed, you previously approved that.
So it just changes dates.
Just changes dates through the end of the year.
Anybody have any questions? Sounds like they're being safe. I mean, there shouldn't be any problem with the architectural review, but you never know, right?
They just want to be in
Yep.
compliance with the terms, so.
Right?
And the fact that they're applying for sort of tax credits for all 3 buildings sort of dictates that they're gonna be maintaining architectural integrity of the
One more thing.
Right.
buildings. Yeah.
Yep. And this is the sale is, to remind us, right, is just the two buildings, the Sandy's building, even though that's part of their phase 1, that is not, they bought it on their own, they're not getting funding from us. It has, right, nothing to do with this really. This is only about the sale of the long vacant, incubator building and what we call the Hot Shots building, right?
Just our buildings,
Yeah. But they are seeking the credits for all 3 buildings,
Sure.
so
Sure.
it shouldn't have any problem with architectural review for any of them.
But I
There's one
just meant the
vacant- and
resolution.
one vacant site. I think the city owns that though.
Oh, yeah,
That's right,
yeah,
Messenger.
that's correct, that's correct.
so do we need a motion for that?
Right, we need an action to allow for the extension and allow me to sign off on that request.
Modification of the
Modification.
contract to accommodate the new dates proposed by the applicant.
Yeah, it's
So we-
12:30.
Yes.
I'll second.
Yeah. So Jane, you're making the motion?
Yeah, yeah.
And Judy
Judy
second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or objections? Very good.
And then just to follow up just briefly with the Market Center, of course, on the heels of a couple of meetings that the Mayor and I and Pat and Amy Collins had with the public, we put a sketch plan review in front of the planning board. A sketch plan review is sort of a pre-application introduction to the project that the planning board can review and comment on. And in anticipation of a formal submission, which we're looking to put before the board next month. So the idea is that we're trying to trail as closely as we can the city that is to the Bonacci's Phase 1 project. So we're looking to get, obviously, it'll probably
Have
be a
you
couple.
gotten
of
any feedback?
Well, there was substantial feedback at the planning board
Right,
meeting
but-
itself, which was lengthy. It was partly lengthy because it was a very long, there was about 12 items on the agenda, which is very unusual. But there was some constructive feedback from them, much of which they had already anticipated. I mean, I think the level of detail that some of the planning board members were looking for was in their site plan application, which they did not include in their sketch plan submission.
Right.
Right, since, again, it wasn't an official. So I think it was really, the intent of this is just to give people a first look and to get some sort of responses. And
From
with
the
respect to
planning
the
board,
design,
yeah, go ahead.
there was no, I didn't find anybody to find it, have any problem.
So you didn't get a formal response from the planning board?
No,
Okay,
no.
that's
And
fine.
as the chairman mentioned, there was not a formal submission made yet.
No, but they have the ability to react to your sketch plan so that if they as an entity felt that you were totally off the beam and they were never going to approve,
Correct.
Whatever, you would get some
Gotcha.
sort of,
And
and
we
you
received
didn't,
nothing-
so
nothing
so
along
therefore,
those lines.
all right.
Actually, 90% of all comments were, they thought it was great. So
Yeah, I
there
was there
there
too,
was,
and I thought that the comments were very positive.
Mhm.
They had a lot of questions, which I think is gonna help the architect and the engineer in their final submission with the level of detail that they'll provide, but overall, I thought it was very positive.
Yeah.
They seem to really like the design, and it's the way it sits on the land, on the site, the accessibility of the site, and that the city is using other areas, including Elm Street, to expand use. The flexibility of the site, I think, was, yeah, I thought it was pretty positive. It was much more positive than I was expecting.
And if your question was more about not just the planning board, we've met now, I've met twice with them, 3 times.
Well, 4 times really, they got 4 different meetings.
Yeah, 4 different meetings with the farmer's market folks. At many of the meetings, they've been positive and said they were appreciative, but then also at meetings, they said they aren't. Their biggest thing is what we can't do is assure them. I think that 95% of all concerns would go away if we, the city, could guarantee that uninterrupted every Saturday, that they would be completely uninterrupted. And we really can't do that. I can't in good conscience say that. There might be an event that's there a whole weekend, and what we've said is, well, maybe you'll be just on a Saturday in June, that you'd be just outside that spot. Maybe we'll close down Glen or Elm and South, and you'll be right outside the location. And that's got them concerned and upset, and we understand that. But when you, and I appreciate it too, we need to do our best to do as little of that as possible. But to not use when the rest of the public, when we speak to them about, there is concerns by the public and certainly by us about utilization of that building and making sure that it's a viable connection to South, that brings South closer to Glen and Maple, right? And truly revitalizes the area as the DRI grant was. And everybody seems to be very appreciative of that we're doing that. Know that there's going to be ongoing costs of maintenance and heating of this building, that we need to make sure we're utilizing it for more than that.
Can I ask a question?
You certainly could.
Thank you. Why can't an event be taking place on the 2nd level while the marketplace is going on the 1st level?
Well, we're talking the farmer's market building, as we
Yeah.
used to call it.
There's no
It's only
second
one,
level.
it's only one
It's
level.
all one level.
Oh, I thought, where the hell was I? I thought we were gonna go on, no, honestly,
Well,
that
when
there was
the-
gonna be 2 floors
When the,
so that entertainment could be going on Saturday nights or
when
something.
construction costs and material costs and labor costs started creeping up over
That floor went away.
$7 That second floor went away.
Right.
And that
Well,
actually
it
was
seems
cost.
to me that if the government has billions of dollars for everything else, they damn well ought to give Glens Falls some
A little
money
bit
for a
more.
second floor. This is
I think
ridiculous.
they feel that they gave us a lot of money.
No, you're,
It's
well
ridiculous
known,
though.
pre-inflation money.
Yeah.
What we've done to move the project forward is to say to them, this was always meant to be not just a farmer's market, but a market center of all kinds of markets and activities. And they hear that. That doesn't take away their particular fear. But everybody seems to at least be on the same page. This is not a new thing. But you're right, Lois. We've met with the state now, the Secretary of State, the Lieutenant Governor, and the ESD and DOS has been here, and they appreciate the direction we're moving in. We're in the middle of the final approval, let's say, of moving. There was originally $2.5 million towards a parking structure, and trying to move that towards the funding of this center, so we can build majority of what we want to do there. They're not talking about giving us more money, but thank you, I like the thought. What they are saying that Glens Falls is a model, that the total investment of Bonaccio and us building this center and our plans is exactly what they had originally envisioned in the DRI. And there are other cities that aren't there, some that are walking away from their investment because of inflation and because of uncertainty of markets, and so they really do want to see us succeed. It's all very positive.
Mayor,
Yeah.
I've been at several of those meetings, and when residents of the city get up to speak, I think that there is more of a focus on that this is going to be a municipally owned and managed structure, and that the city and the taxpayers of the city need to make sure that it's properly maintained. The monies that are coming from the state are for development.
Right.
Who's gonna manage it? Who's gonna take care of it? You already raised those issues. Who's gonna heat it? Who's gonna provide electricity? Who's gonna clean it? And that's the city of Glens Falls. And so I very much appreciate the farmers market and all they do for this community, but they also have not offered to pay more money for its use or to help to cover any of those costs. And so that pushes you as the mayor and the common council to find other activities that will go into that building that will help to cover those costs, or else the taxpayers are gonna have to do it. And so, I just, as the discussion continues, I urge you to continue that piece of the discussion, because management of our municipal properties are very important to the residents of the city.
And I
Thank you.
think it's worth, dovetailing what Judy just said, I think it's worth noting that during the meetings that we had, the public meetings, we had met previously, immediately preceding those meetings, we met with the board. And I think the farmers market vendors themselves, certainly the board, understand what you just said about the costs. Many of the concerns at the public meetings were from patrons, not really from the farmers themselves. And they had, and perhaps the information either from us or from the farmers market itself, the Association of Friends, is not disseminating properly or didn't have enough time or whatever. But it seems like much of the concern was from, you're gonna take my farmers market away, which of course is not the intent. And the farmers themselves seem to understand that and realize the fiscal exigencies of, we have to pay for it. Or it must be paid for, I should say, we have to pay
And
for
in
it.
fact, that was mentioned at the end of the second meeting,
Yeah.
was the fact that a number of people publicly, before the meeting ended, said, thank you, there's been a lot of misunderstanding out there. We're glad that you cleared this up, that, you know, that you're gonna keep the farmer's market.
The other thing is the square footage, and you're going from a gazebo space that's a little over 4,000 square feet to a building that's over 6,000 square feet. You're going from a parking lot that's got, and I don't know how many square feet in that parking lot, but you're closing down Elm Street from Market Day, that's gonna add at least 12,000 square feet, if not more. And the possibility, you said maybe even South Street. The sidewalk, you've expanded the sidewalk on South Street. And so there's elements of the design that even the planning board really like, that include those things, and those are important factors too.
How tall is the building?
Well, don't
Let's
know.
say the walls.
Well, I
That's
tell you that
good.
the, and so we made the sidewalls that open up for the farmers, 12 feet high, so that they could not just open it up and load their stuff in, but also have a space that might be both inside and outside, and they could put their easy up tents in and half out of the building. So we went and we made sure they were 10 feet wide. That would not be a normal opening, but we know that the tents and the spaces that they normally have are a 10 by 10, and so we've done a whole lot to make sure that this is first and foremost accommodating to vendors like a farmer's market. We put water spigots on either end of the building, but we did move away from having a spigot and a drain at every single one, and the farmers haven't been upset with that at all. They recognize that that was overkill, because many of them sell
Don't need
things
it,
like
don't
honey,
need it. Right.
and what would I use a spigot for, right?
Right.
But so I think that, yeah, it's made for them, electric on the inside and outside. So if you do have an outside spot and you want lights, although I don't know what you lights if you're only doing 8 to noon. I also wanted to let you know that the Post-Star misquoted me. When we spoke to the farmers market, I said to them, "Would you also like to do Sunday?" And it was
They said
shocking
no,
that they were said, not only to say no, they were kind of upset that I was suggesting that they work on the
doing
one
enough.
day off they
Right.
had. And I thought that they would say, well, that's great, right? And so we may get other farmers that aren't part of that association or are part of that association who want to do Sundays. I think we need to add Sunday mornings in market, a market of some sort, and we
Flea
need to,
market or
yeah,
something.
whatever it is, right? And extend that market. I don't think it needs to end at noon, but also remember, I don't. There's an association of people, and there's even some disagreements within there, and we just appreciate them and want to work with them any way we can. But we certainly want to enhance it.
Can we get a updated
There's, yeah, I was just gonna
picture
say
of the market?
Oh,
we
it's-
updated now because they have to submit it for architectural review, and so
Or
can we
just
get
email
that?
to us.
Yes,
Yeah.
yep, actually,
That would be nice.
sure.
And then I'll shut my mouth. No.
Maybe. We'll have different questions.
Would you like what we have currently, Lois? Because that would be new.
I would like to see it,
Great.
yes.
Sure, we can get
Because I
it
can't
submitted to the
remember when
planning
it
board.
was sold
Yeah.
last.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Is there any thought about making the more expandable in the future, building it such that you could easily add on to it?
The structure itself?
Yes.
Like,
I think, I mean,
Site won't
to
allow it.
like, if you wanted the second floor or something, you could do
Yeah.
that. Something
Well,
like that,
I know
if we
you're
could.
spending
pouring
millions,
those pilings
but to
now
think
would
that there's
be
just one
not cost
space
effective.
inside.
Well, not only,
Right,
forget the
because you would
cost,
have- you would
even
have
if
to go
cost
down
wasn't a
4 to
problem.
3. I
One
don't
of the,
think our
oops.
infrastructure would support that.
Yeah. So there's another thing, that because of the size of the lot,
yeah,
I actually, at one point, we went back and said, can you make it, even before we had added up the square footage of the current pavilion and the new pavilion, I said, can this be bigger? And I know we don't have the money for it. Maybe I need to go to the council and try to find the money above and beyond what we can get from this grant. And they went and looked at it and said, no, really, we can't, because you need to be able to get a fire truck around the entire, even if you never have to, you've got to be able to do it. So we couldn't necessarily make it bigger if we wanted.
Right. I was thinking more vertical.
Yeah.
I think that we can talk to them about it and make sure. We are making sure, though, that for expansion, like right now, we in the plans is to provide insulation in the roof, and we're trying to find a good way to heat it as best as possible without changing the code of the building, right? So we're looking at heating the floor so that heat can rise. And we want to make sure that whatever heating system we have can be updated as technology changes. We didn't go with the geothermal because of the $1.2 million system that blew a budget out of the. But we want to make sure that whatever we put in there can be changed. That we don't rely on gas because we know it'll change.
So the building will be made in such a way that eventually, when we have millions of dollars to play with,
Yep,
the roof can be raised.
Not necessarily,
I
we
don't
don't know,
know.
we
See,
don't
that-
know.
yep.
I would believe that if we went back to them now and said, we're now thinking we'd like to be able to add a second floor, they would have to go back to the drawing board, because I am sure that the structure is an open space on design now, and that would not be.
Keep in
a
Well,
mind
you could
design
have, couldn't you just have
There's
key,
also
you could
the
have
whole
key
body
pylons
work.
that would support.
Well, I mean,
going up.
you know,
It's just
without,
cost.
I don't wanna throw a wrench into the architect's
Right.
drawings, the moment.
Again,
As you look at the building, in theory, at least half of it, because it has sort of a what do you wanna call it, a tiered height, you know, the roof is higher on one side than the other. I don't wanna suggest anything, certainly not in public, that it could have a second floor put on it.
Right.
I don't know that it couldn't. I mean, but more importantly, you know, we've also, as I think you folks are aware of, the city has committed to leasing the first floor of the incubator, which is another 5,200 square feet. Now, we haven't quite figured out how that space will be used, but one of the reasons when we sort of, you know, came up with the design, and I believe one of the reasons that they may have moved, you know, from the original DRI drawing, you know, of submission plan over to this side of the lot was its proximity to the incubator.
Yes.
right,
Right, and so the potential for that to be a quote-unquote usable space, whatever that means.
Extension of the.
As an extension of space, indoor space, is certainly a possibility. And that would almost double what you're talking
Right,
about.
that would be, yes, right, that would almost be like adding another floor.
Right, and there's lots of different options we're looking at.
Can you also then make that into an event place?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we're solving
Right.
my concern, which is,
Expand the building.
exactly,
6,000
I don't
square
wanna
feet
say in
plus
20,
5,200
I don't wanna say in 2027, when I'm 92 years old and here, that we should have been thinking of the future and we didn't.
Good,
And there's too many things in this world that nobody thought of what was gonna happen in the future.
that's great. Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
I'm just thinking saving money in the
No.
long run.
Yeah, and that's really, that thinking, that future thinking is what has some of our market. We don't have any events right now scheduled, right? We don't have a
Right.
building yet. So I told them it's gonna be years before, but the fact that I couldn't guarantee that for every year in perpetuity, that you would have Saturday mornings,
total access.
yes,
Right.
is what has made them nervous. And I think they're used to politicians making promises, and I just said I wouldn't do it. I can't make them a promise I don't know
And as the
about.
mayor alluded to, when you're talking about environmental things, you have to keep in mind future thinking. You know, a lot of our design thinking had to change because in 2019, of course, the climate law was passed. So after the original DRI was, you know, given to
Yeah.
us, awarded to us, not given to us, we've had to sort of rethink how to environmentally look at the building. So one of the ways you sort of future-proof it, you know, to the extent that there are cleaner technologies, whether we put solar on it, make it solar ready, if you will,
Right.
even if the current budget doesn't allow for it. So, I mean, to shoot for a net zero building, if not immediately, as soon as possible. Going forward.
Great. Any other questions?
Oh,
Great
yeah.
report, Jeff. Thank you. Small Business Recovery Fund updates.
So as you as we've talked about a couple times in the last couple of meetings, the state through, sorry, I just want to make sure I got it right. The New York State Office of Community Renewal awarded the city a $345,000 CARES Act grant to help businesses to prepare for, to make changes because of, and to be able to survive through the next pandemic, or through this pandemic or the next pandemic. Our plan was to create a small business recovery fund, which had been done with the federal CARES Act, the city did, that the LDC did. So this state program we set up, I forget when it was, August maybe or September. We didn't have the final paperwork until somewhere in September. We have a first applicant, basically, who came to us and said, our business model, our food business model has dramatically changed from in to out, right, that we're delivering. And one of the things that will really help us to be able to survive is to get a pizza oven, and a number of accompanying equipment, a big mixer and a prep table, thank you. That they'd like to be able to have paid for by this grant. So we're asking the board to allow us to be able to, I forget the exact wording, to commit up to $30,000. The mixer itself, I mean, the pizza oven itself is $21,000. And then the rest of it is made up. So we're asking the board to allow us to commit the $30,000 to this company to be able to have them move forward with their purchases.
And they're gonna fit this in their current footprint?
Correct, yes.
Interesting.
Well, I'm sorry, there was some discussion that they were gonna have to do some small renovation inside.
But they're still gonna be all city, 100% in the city.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, that's.
Cooper's Cave.
No, I know.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're
Oh, I
around
love that place.
Right.
yeah.
Looking for-
So, yes.
But you're right,
They don't use it all.
yeah,
So, yeah,
I think they're using the building next door maybe?
I think so too. But that's okay, that's still in the city, that's going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as they didn't have to go off-site, that, you know, I don't want our
No,
money
no,
going,
I'm sorry, yes, the plan,
going
as far as
down the road.
As far as everything they've talked to us about, yes, it's going right in their building.
Yeah,
They're gonna have to do some, they actually asked if they could have some money for the renovation, and that's not something that this allows.
right,
So,
I bet they're going next door to them.
it's okay. It
Yeah.
could be, that wouldn't be bad, that wouldn't be
No.
bad at all.
No, they're taking over, it was a garage.
Yep.
Yeah.
They use it upstairs.
So anyway,
I've-
sorry, didn't mean to
I
interrupt.
walked to Cooper's Cave, so for me, it's a great addition.
Right,
Food's good
You don't
too.
have to now, they can deliver the pizza.
right.
So
If
we,
we eat there, can we not vote on
yeah, sure.
Are they gonna deliver pizza? Are they gonna deliver?
I don't know. That
Door
wasn't, that
dash.
wasn't part of the
Yeah.
deal. Like I said, I can walk to
Right.
it, so for me,
Just-
I would guess they would have to. don't you?
Pat, we need you to get these kinds of details in the
Right,
future.
right. What's the phone number?
What's on the menu?
Right, all right, right.
A sample, a couple of samples? Yes, samples would be good.
So the resolution before you just actually, as I said, allows, on mine and Jeff's recommendation
great.
to be able to authorize up to $30,000. The total that they have now is around 29, so with price changes and everything else, we wanted to make sure we didn't have to come back.
Okay.
So
You want a
this
motion
is-
on that?
So this is 30,000 out of CARES Act from HCR, and how much?
OCR,
OCR.
OCR?
yeah. $30,000.
And how much in total do we have?
$345.
This
Right.
is CDBG CV funds.
It is CDBG-CD funds.
Then it's through HCR.
Correct.
OCR,
We have a total
I-
of 345 and this is 30 of it. Right, so we've got work to do.
whatever.
Just a drop in the bucket, huh?
Oh, it's the, right, sorry.
This
it's
is the
that.
New York State
Yes,
Homes.
Homes and Community
Community
Renewal.
This is the
Office of
housing
Community
agency.
Renewal, Yes.
Another new name.
I have a different.
Right.
It's meaningless, it's the state housing.
Yes.
Right. And it's so true. That's right.
There we go. Do we
I
have-
will make that motion.
Okay.
I'll
Do we have a
it.
second?
I do.
Lois, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Mayor,
Great.
just to put a footnote on it, it's not entitled money, so it's confusing because the city is an entitlement community with HUD for the
This
community
is-
development cooperative program. This is competitive, non-entitlement money given to the state of New York by HUD. You had to compete for it, and you won a grant competitively to do additional business assistance in the wake of the pandemic. The slant of this, the reason the dollar amount is up to 30 is we're hoping to cultivate projects for businesses that can pivot from not so much recovery and you know, paying back rent. We hope that phase of the pandemic is over. And this is equipment or fixtures and furnishings that will make a business more resilient, or more future pandemic, you know, friendly, or let them expand and grow, regardless of how COVID plays out, or the
Right,
next.
so we don't get into a panic situation
It's
again.
more- Right, it's more
makes
economic
sense.
development with some job creation, bigger dollar amounts, but different types of projects than just rent relief or paying
Yeah.
back utility bills. So
And what's the total amount available to us?
345.
345.
Now 315.
There you go.
Correct.
Very good.
So
No.
you're
And do we-
marketing it and hopefully we'll get the business.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's kind of a first test.
Do we have 345 or is this a reimbursement
It's
program?
reimbursement,
Yeah,
yeah.
Retained will have to pay
And will
the
they-
cost to get the equipment in, and then we seek reimbursement.
But per project, we seek reimbursement, we don't have to wait and.
Correct.
Okay,
Right, no seed money payments, no
Yeah.
upfront.
okay, beautiful, thank you.
And we don't have to wait until the whole $345,000.
Right, that would, yeah, we
That's
would be,
great.
yeah.
We're going to be
Pass
past
those.
this.
Thank you, Jim, for that. That's great. That's great news for us.
So the next is a relatively quick. I mean, this is the market at Park and Elm. It's a Glens Falls Drive program where we awarded them. We authorized them to spend $50,000 and get $40,000 reimbursed. We filed all the paperwork with the state. The reimbursement has actually come back to us.
Really?
So what we want to do is give that $40,000, write the check and give the $40,000. We just need the authorization of the board to do that. So that's the motion.
I'll make the motion to accept the resolution as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And mural number 4, which is the third mural we're doing.
Mayor, I'll make,
The third resolution of the fourth mural, it's actually the third project that we're doing. I'm really excited about this. When I was much younger, I worked with the Warren County Historical Society to put together their most recent History of Warren County book, which is a 600-page
Home.
book. The proposal for this mural is on the side of the wall, the Wood Theater wall, the alley between them and Spot Coffee. And the board, the Wood Theater board is very excited about this opportunity. There's apparently an artist from Chicago that the Arts District has hired to do this work, who does historical murals, but they're like snapshots, as you can see on the
Document.
the piece of paper that was sent around. It's photos and images, each one of something different that has to do with Glens Falls history. And the discussion at the moment is that the Arts District is going to create a website, we think with their own mind, but we're trying to work out how that's gonna work, where each one of these images is gonna have a QR code, and you can shoot your phone at the QR code and link to a website that has the historical information on each one of those things. I'm very excited. I think it's a really neat project. And so the resolution, I got lost in my excitement. The resolution asks for seed money, as we've done with the other two murals. So we're asking for seed money of $11,000 to get the artist started. This grant sunsets, is it December? This sunsets in December. So the Arts District and the artists are hoping to get working, in the next couple of days, basically, to get moving on. They've got the approval they need. They got approval from the planning board on the 4th when they had their marathon meeting.
And Pat, or Jim, does the completion of this mural close out the arts trail portion of the trip to the DRI?
Yeah, this takes most of the remaining Arts District DRI grant. There's gonna be a potential balance of $5,000 or $6,000. There's some ideas with the Arts District about some minor sealing of one of the murals that didn't get an anti-graffiti sealant yet, and then some other things that we're working with HCR on.
But we're
This is
thinking
the
by the
bulk
end of
of
the
the
year,
remainder of the 100.
we're thinking by the end of the year, this is close, this.
Yes.
So another DRI component.
Close out.
Completed.
This minor DRI component that has become a major
Outside.
Herculean effort,
the,
as Jane knows.
Yes.
they don't have a lot of time given our weather.
Correct.
So hopefully
Well, the artist believes that he can do it in the time that's allowed.
Okay.
Allowed.
And he's here, he's not in Chicago?
I do not know.
He can
where
get
he
here?
is. I'm
Um,
assuming that
that-
once the approval is done, yes.
I would just insist and incorporate into the contract that he's got to put in the anti-mural
Yes,
graffiti,
yeah.
because that's a huge thing, I think.
Anti-graffiti.
I believe that's in.
His,
I think that's
in that
determined
location it would
that's
have
what-
to be.
Yeah.
In that location, I'm sure.
In
Yes,
particular, it
right,
would
yes,
be so
right.
easy to damage that, there's no one gonna be
It's
watching
on
you.
20 Warren, but not 144 Glen at Domino's, I think.
Okay.
Gotcha, that's separate. Do we have a motion to approve this $11,000 in seed money for this
So moved.
mural?
So moved.
Second,
Denise?
all in favor?
I'm not.
Great, thank you. Any other business? I have none. I don't believe we need to go into executive session. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'm gonna get,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very, very much.
I have a lot to do today.
Nice.